Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna talk about intergeneric orchids, specifically about Oncidium's intergenerics. So I thought would be a very nice theme for us to do a deep dive into, and also I can show you a little bit of my collection of Oncidium's intergenerics. Let me know if you have any questions down below as well. And it's been a while since I've created any video on this topic, so I thought today would be a really nice thing for us to discuss and to talk through. First of all, what the word intergeneric means. It's basically a cross between two genera of orchids. So let's say that I have here a genera of Phalaenopsis, and we have here a Vandaceous orchid. And when I cross these two orchids and I have a hybrid, this is my intergeneric. Today, I'm not going to talk about all orchids intergenerics. We would be here forever, but I will talk to you specifically about that ones that we have an Oncidium involved, and the Oncidium will be crossed with other genera of orchids. I cannot cross a monopodia with a sympodia, for example. Not every orchid will be able to cross with any other orchid. Some orchids are terrestrial and they have their own way of reproducing. I cannot simply come and cross these orchids with some of epiphytes that lives in completely different type of environment. Maybe these will not work. So scientifically, genetically speaking, they have to be compatible. Taking that out of the way, we have then Oncidiums, and Oncidiums will cross with other genera of orchids, and then we're going to have all the Oncidium alliance with a ton of different intergenerics that push out beautiful, colorful flowers, and some of them are fragrant, others are not. Some of them has miniature flowers, others have super large flowers. There are a range of different intergenerics out there, and I will show you the ones that I have. I give you examples. I tell you how these got crossed, what are the most common intergenerics out there, and I want to hear as well if you own any of these. Usually these orchids, not all of them, but some of them are very easy for us to come by. You can find them in garden centers, sometimes even in supermarkets, and also flower shops. I got mine, I think all of mine I bought locally. They were pretty affordable as well. So keep that in mind. They are amazing. They are also super easy to look after most of the time. Some of them can be a bit finicky, but we'll get there. Let me grab my collection of orchids. Let me show you the ones that I have and what they are. And also I will have to use my phone at some point because I won't remember all the tags, but I have them noted down in there, and we're going to talk about which genera of orchid got crossed to create this kind of intergenerics. I think it's really nice. It gives you an idea as well. We can talk about some of their features and what's different between one and another. So if you have intergeneric around, grab yours. Let's compare and let's see what they are. So here I am, the first one that is in bloom at the moment. It's a massive one. So ta-da! I have here, it's the first one. Let me grab the tag here to see. So this one is the Comonara Gold Rush. According to Google, how to use the picture. I told you that I know this one is a very common hybrid out there. And it is a beautiful hybrid. A Comonara is a cross between Miltonia, Oncidium, and Odontoglossum. I don't have any Miltonia. I had a Miltonia Sunset, I lost it. And I don't have any Odontoglossum. I do have Oncidiums. I can talk about my Oncidiums in another video. Let me know if you want to know. I have only 3 Oncidiums. We can talk about Oncidium care as well, only Oncidium care at some point. But today we'll focus on these intergenerics. So when I talk about my Comonara here, what I can say is that this one specifically has these brown orange flowers, has a very tall flower spike with a ton of flowers. There is no fragrance, so I wouldn't buy it for the fragrance. I would buy it for the amount of flowers, for the fact that this plant, it's a very easy to look after plant. The only disadvantage that it has, in my opinion, is that it's a massive plant. You need to have space for your Comonara. Usually they have these super large pseudobulbs. The pseudobulbs are round and big. They will push out super long and tall leaves as well. And to complete all of these, every time you have a new growth, you're gonna have a new flower spikes and you're gonna have a ton of blooms. So this one is a very resilient plant. It's the kind of plant that it will fill up the pot with so many roots, and then at some time in the future, you had to repot it again and you regret immensely because it's very difficult to deal with all of these roots. So at the moment, I'm letting it to be. It's growing out of the pot, but it's pushing out spikes. And it's one of these plants that I have never had issues. It does have pests, but usually it's not the most sensitive one to pests either. It's, usually speaking, very easy to look after. Just need more water because it pushes out a ton of roots. But that's because the massive leaves and pseudobulbs and flower spikes. So this one is my Colmonata, and now let's go to the next example. Now let's talk about Belearas. So Belearas are a cross between Brassia, Miltonia, Odontoglossum, and Oncidium. So I do have a hybrid of a Brassia here. I've had Miltonia in the past. As you know, I don't have any Odontoglossum, but I do have two Belearas. What I love about my Belearas is the fact that they push out beautiful flowers. I would love to have more Belearas in my collection from the intergenerics. This is definitely one of my favorites. However, I haven't been buying Oncidium's intergenerics for a while. The reason is that they become super large orchids. They will grow super tall as well, so I need to have space for them. Why Belearas are so cute? In my opinion, because they push out this kind of star-shaped flowers, and the flowers are very elegant. And usually they will be freckled as well. You're gonna have to see some dots around the flower. So which Belearas I have? I have the Pegaroof Carpenter. That's a very famous hybrid out there. Mine is very stressed. I'll link to the video I reported recently. So this is one, it's the most well-known Beleara. The other one in here is a white Beleara. This one is very easy to find locally as well. It's everywhere. I bought it. I have two at the moment. One is very stressed and it's probably dying. This one is doing super well. I bought it without flowers because I knew it was a Beleara. I didn't know which one it would be, but I knew it was a Beleara. What was my train thoughts to buy this one as a Beleara? Basically was the shape of the pseudobulbs. So remember when I was talking to you about my Colmonara, that it has super large and round pseudobulbs? So Belearas, usually the pseudobulb is a bit different. If you look at them, they have a more like oval shaped type of pseudobulbs. So if you're looking to find a Beleara and the plant has no flowers, look at the shape of the pseudobulbs, you're gonna get closer. But Brassias also have this kind of long elongated pseudobulbs. So Belearas, as I mentioned, is a cross complex hybrid that has 4 different genera of orchids involved, and the result is definitely some super beautiful flowers. You can find them in different colors. This one is white, there are purple, pink Belearas out there, so keep your eyes peeled. I hope you can find some beautiful Belearas locally. So this one at the moment has 1, 2, 3, 4 flower spikes like the Colmonara. This one will push out flower spikes when it has mature pseudobulbs. For me, usually it blooms spring and autumn, but it's blooming earlier this year. My orchids are a bit out of sync. The weather, I would say the climate is a bit out of sync as well. So my plants are following suit. This one, as I told you, it's one of, I think, the most common Belearas out there, at least where I live. It's very easy to come across this one. Showed you in bloom many times before. And the roots are very similar to the Colmonara plant. It's one of these orchids that when it's healthy, it will push out a ton of thin roots that will grow everywhere in your pot. And when you decide to repot it, you're screwed because, oh my gosh, yeah, it will take a while. But apart from the fact that now it's quite warm, hot, and my plants are all dry, Most of the year, it's pretty easy to grow these plants around here because my climate helps as well. If you live in a super hot climate, it would be more difficult because you have to keep an eye on watering. These plants, they are thirst beasts. You need to keep watering them almost all the time. So, Beleara out of the way, let's talk now about Wilsonara. I love these names. They kind of looks like I'm writing a fantasy story and I have all of these cool names. I don't have any here with me. The only one that I have is on the other room, so I'm not gonna hold a Wilsonara. But basically, it is a cross between Cochleoda, Odontoglossum, and Oncidium. And what happened with the Wilsonaras, that usually they will be as well super large and big plants. They will have beautiful colors. Both of the Wilsonaras that I have, they are in tone of reds. So one of them I got many years ago in France, and it has super dark red flowers, and the other one is a red Wilsonara. These plants will also have kind of like round pseudobulbs and long leaves and thin roots as a whole of the other ones. For me, the only difference in here is the fact that it is a bit more sensitive to pests. I don't know, that's my experience. It has been attacked many times for me. I've been cleaning all the time. This reason they are not blooming amazingly well. What you notice that with some of these plants, they will be a bit more sensitive and others are more resistant. So you need to observe what's going on with your plants, and then you can actually action and look after them properly. But nonetheless, is one of these hybrids that are super gorgeous, amazing, beautiful. It will push out a ton of tiny flowers as well. So it's going to be a tall flower spike full of super bright flowers, and it has no fragrance whatsoever. I forgot to tell you that Belearas usually have a fragrance, and the fragrance is like towards the spice, similar to Brassias, but different from Belearas. Commonaras has no fragrance whatsoever. At least I haven't sensed anything. Let me know down below if you had experienced something different. And now let's go to the next intergeneric. So the next one is the Uncidops nellialer, another very famous hybrid out there. Why? Because people love the fragrance. It smells like a citrusy, like orangey, lemony, and some people are crazy about it. The second thing is because the flowers are super red and people can put it for sale when it's Valentine's Day. You will notice it around. It pops up in supermarkets and garden centers from time to time. And it's a cross between Miltoniopsis and Oncidiums. The thing about the nellialer is that it's not an easy plant to look after. Different to so many different intergenerics out there. This one, it's a bit more difficult, I would say. It is finicky with the weather. If you look at the pseudobulbs, they are thinner if I compare to other intergenerics. It's not capable of storing so much water. What happened as well, the leaves are super thin. So when you have a very warm weather, for instance, if you have a case of root rot, the plant might not survive. On the other hand, if you are not really careful with repotting, doesn't have many growths, if the plant decides to lose some of the growths, it might not survive. If you have a pest infestation, because the leaves are pretty thin, it will attack your Oncidopsis as well, and then you might lose your plant. I've had, I think this is my third or fourth nellialer. It's surviving, push out a new growth, is doing super well, but it's not the easiest plant out there. Just to let you know, it's quite easy to identify. If you look at the pattern of the flowers, if you feel the fragrance, you know straight away that is this hybrid. Something else is that if you look at the type of growth, you're going to see that's similar to the Miltoniopsis. So again, this is the Oncidopsis nellialer, another intergeneric that's also related to Oncidiums. Some of these names change from time to time, so I'm not sure about how to call some of these intergenerics, but I have one here that has a flower spike. It's a bit stressed as well, my fault. It's because of water. This week was the week where they are all suffering a bit because of the weather. But this one is my Oncostelli Stirbeck. Again, a very common hybrid out there. That's basically a cross between Oncidium and Rincostelli. This one will have a different type of flowers. The flowers, they are all frilly, and they all have some sort of pattern. They are very thin, so yeah, it gives you this frilly touch. When this plant is super healthy, it will push out so many flowers, and it's a beautiful show. It's also a bit sensitive to pests, but if you look at the pseudobulbs, they are a bit smaller, I would say, and they are round-shaped as well. I don't think it's the most difficult intergeneric out there, but you need to offer it some love and be on top of watering, because pseudobulbs will get pretty wrinkled as soon as you don't water this plant. But more than that, this is one of the oldest intergenerics in my collection. Needs some love, as I mentioned, as you can see from this yellow leaf, and I have some accordion leaves due to dehydration as well. But it's going well, it's surviving, it's gonna bloom again. Could bloom better, it's my fault, I need to give some love. It's another example of intergenerics that we have out there. And the last one, just to say that I didn't forget, I think this is the last one that I have in my collection. I'm not sure, I might have others. My collection of intergenerics, it's a bit smaller because I had too many in the past and I don't have space. For this reason, I think I got rid of some of them. But this one is my Newtonidian Peter Combe. And what's in Newtonidian is basically a cross between Oncidium and Newtonia. And then you have these intergenerics that will push out pseudobulbs. They are very similar, I would say, to the Newtonia. If you had a Newtonia, you would know. It's like they are a bit more elongated as well than some of the round-shaped type of pseudobulbs. On top of that, they will push out super large growths as well. It is a resistant plant, but it also attracts pests. Most of these intergenerics are pretty sensitive to pests, so you have to be careful, and they dehydrated pretty easily as well. This Newtonidian will have flowers with a diversity of colors. So this one is like a reddish purple with yellow. And the difference in flowering is that we have a large lip with smaller, I would say, petals and sepals. The flowers are small, but it's also capable of push out many flowers. I think healthier your plant is, you're gonna definitely have a better bloom show. None of these plants are as resilient, I would say, as my Comonara. Nothing beats that. This one, from all of the ones that I presented here, I'm not as resilient as the Comonara. Not at all. The Comonara keep growing and growing. It doesn't care. Nothing bothers my Comonara, apparently. Can have pests. I can have heat wave. I can have winter approaching. It's doing what it has to do. But all of the others, you need to be a bit more careful with watering. You need to be on top of pests because they can suffer a little bit. And I think the most difficult one from all of them is definitely the Nelliala. I would say that my Wilsonara suffer a bit more with pests as well. But the rest, they are all similar in terms of care. And I have some care tutorials. I will link them down below. Also give you a ton of B-roll so you can look at these plants and maybe they will inspire you to grab an intergeneric sometime soon. They're lovely to grow. I love these plants so much. I think the advantage of having these plants in your collection is that you will always have some orchid in bloom because they will bloom all over the year. Some of them prefer spring, some of them prefer autumn, others simply don't care. They will push out a new growth and they will bloom for you. Some are fragrant, most of them are not, but they compensate with the amount of flowers that they push out and also the colors and how vibrant these flowers are. The reason why human beings decide to create intergenerics is that because you combine the best of the worlds. You might combine the amount of flowers that one plant pushes out with the colors of the other genera, place them together and create a beautiful intergeneric. And then some of them are fragrant, as I said, you mix with no fragrant, and then you might have a fragrant intergeneric. And for this reason, people will keep mixing multiple genera of orchids and producing these hybrids that we can find sometimes for a very good price locally. Others are more expensive. It depends on the hybrid, and it depends where you buy them as well. So next time that you go to a garden center and you find an orchid with a super fancy name, it's probably intergeneric, and you probably would have an idea of what that means. I hope this video was useful for you. If it was, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!